Um, Something else I would do that needs to be looked at um, is to do with the mental health service. And I really, truly, truly, truly believe that the reason why God put me through what He did is because He knew I would pay attention to what was going on inside those places, and that I'd be able to do something about it. I'd know how to fix it. There's 1,000 ways we can fix it. Half of the girls didn't even need to be in there for a start. They just needed somebody to talk to, or somebody to help them get stuff off their chest that had been burdening their minds since they were children. Because when I started doing the palm readings for the girls and that, and giving them my posies from the lavender and rosemary that I was picking in the gardens outside, and praying over them and that sort of thing, it was helping them sleep, and they were going off. They didn't need sleeping tablets and all of that. And every time they're not needing a tablet, it's less strain on the NHS and less of a burden on the taxpayer. So for as many patients that don't need to be in there, there's also a lot of staff that shouldn't be working there. Some of them are quite cruel, and some of them are sadistic. But then there are some there who absolutely deserve to be there. They're there because they care. They're there because they genuinely want to help make a difference. But they need to retrain the mental health professionals in that to see the way the human mind works completely differently to how psychiatry and the pharmaceutical industry sees it. They need to understand what it is for exactly what it is, which is where I come in, because I'm an ascension scientist, so I know everything about the elevation and the dissension of the human mind and the effect that it has on the world around us, i.e. paranormal, supernatural, that sort of thing. But they deserve pay rises. I'm telling you now, they deserve pay rises. They will absolutely be not getting paid enough, and they should be getting paid as much as the doctors for some of the stuff that they do. The doctors swan in, sign a prescription, swan out. They don't give a crap. The doctors don't give a crap. Nowhere near as much as what the nurses do for the ones that deserve to be there. There was a woman in there, Jill, and she was in there because her husband died and she was grieving, and they decided that her grief was a mental illness. So they put her in because her family, nobody wanted to deal with her. They didn't want to deal with her crying and her sadness, so they classed it as depression and put her in a mental hospital, completely unnecessary. And every time fights would break out, she'd get scared. And there was a couple of times where there was, she got picked on by someone in there who just was getting up in her face and making her afraid. And no one was doing anything about it. And I love my Jilly, so I would jump in and defend her and would tell this girl to, back off. And if she got near my Jilly again, then she'd have to deal with me. In more polite terms, but, obviously I'm paraphrasing because I'm not a thug, but no one was doing anything because they sit and observe and see how everyone acts. And I think they had it in their head that I was a bully because of what happened with Chris, because he made out like I was a knife-wielding bad-tempered maniac. When I stand up for injustice and she was getting picked on and it was about to get physical and nobody was doing anything. So when I walked up the hall and I saw what was going on and I saw that look of fear in little Jilly's eyes because she was only teeny tiny, I just got straight in there and I was like, you leave her alone, because she was a new girl. I was like, you touch her and you can deal with me, please. Thank you very much. And then I just wrapped Jill up in my arms and, moved her away. So then every time anything would happen, she'd come running over to me and I'd hold my arm out. She'd come and hide under my arm and I'd just hug her, I'd just hold her. So then she started trusting me and she'd see me going off to church every Sunday and she'd see me sitting reading my Bible and writing stuff out, when I was decoding things from the Bible and putting them up on my little Instagram that they were allowing me to put up because if I was the performing seal, I got to have my phone for a couple of hours a week. And I would use it to check in on the boys, but they'd have to see everything and check to see what I was posting because of Chris's lies, because he was scared I was going to catch him out for liking to look, because he likes to wear women's lingerie and stuff. So he lied to get my phone taken off me. And she came to me one day because she knew I was doing the palm readings, she was watching, and she said to me, can I ask you a question? She said, you know about death? And I said, yeah, I do. And she said, why did God take my David away from me? And she started crying. And I just held her in my arms and I just let her cry. She said, they don't let me cry. And I said, anytime you need to cry, you just come to me. And I was stroking her hair and she was crying, and I said to her, it's not fair when God takes people that we love away from us, but we just have to have faith and understanding that he did it for a reason. She said, I loved him though. She said, he was my best friend. She said, we did everything together. And she said, why did he have to go first? And I said, because he's getting heaven ready for you. She looked at me and I said, because he wants to make it perfect for when you get there. I said, but he's not ready yet. I said, he's got some things to do for God first. And she said, like what? And I said, like protecting children and protecting stray animals and, lost dogs. And I said, God, he's got to do some work for God first to make up for anything that he got wrong when he was here. I said, and then when heaven's perfect, I said, it'll be, he'll be ready, he'll come and get you. I said, but not yet, eh, Jill? And she goes, no. She said, I'm just sad. And I said, you're allowed to be sad. And she said to me, like, will you pray for me? And I said, I will pray for you every single night. And I said, and I'll light a candle for you every time I go to church. And she started coming to church. And I would have to stand at the door because she asked me if I would read the Bible for her. And I would have to stand at the door. I wasn't allowed to go into her room. And that's one of the things that needs to change. When it comes to praying and prayer, people should be allowed to go in that room, leave the door open, have someone standing at the door if you have to. But those girls, I got so many girls starting to go to church I got so many of them getting back into reading the Bible and that because they saw what I was doing with how I was able to do it. They saw the difference I was making. And when we had the COVID outbreak, that poor Michelle, she deserves a pay rise. She absolutely deserves to have someone take the burden of like the school run off her shoulders, because she was turning up for work when she wasn't even on shift, because she was, genuinely concerned with how everything was going. And people like her shouldn't have to be begging for, temporary nurses and that. They need to let these women have their dignity and have someone come in and dye their hair for them, boost their confidence. They just need to be listened to. And she knew that, and she came to me, and it helped her grieve, and she became happier, and she started going to church, and she started getting back her connection with God, and it made her happy. And then we all got up one morning and she was gone. They had moved her off to some retirement place, and we never got to say goodbye. We never got to exchange numbers. She's absolutely someone I would have kept in contact with, even if it was just to ring her up every night and read from the Bible, because it brought her comfort. I was able to explain things to her in a way that brought her comfort. And that's why I want to have a radio show. That's why I want to put my products out there. That's why I want to do my shows, or be in a position of power where I could actually do something about it. Even if it's that when I get my lawsuit and become a businesswoman, I become a respected businesswoman, that I can go to these places where these politicians hang out and have a word in their ear. Whatever I've got to do, however God wants me to do it, but it needs to be done. Because people like Michelle stuck up for me. She at least always tried to reason with you, even if you didn't agree with it. You reasoned with her in a way that, because like she tried to make it fair for everyone, some of them absolutely should not be there at all, and then the others should be. But the thing is, there were a lot of African nurses there who brought me comfort, because they knew the ministry, because they grew up with God as being part of their faith in that. And they weren't allowed to come into our rooms to pray. And trust me, when you're innocent and you don't belong in there, and all you've got to cling on to is your faith to give you hope, they should be allowed to come into your room and pray, or read the Bible with you. They should be paid for it. It should be part of their duties as a nurse. If they, and there were Muslim nurses in there as well that could, offer the same thing for Muslim people that are in there. They should be allowed to express and share their faith. Because when you're in a place like that and you don't belong in there, faith is the only thing keeping you alive. Mine grew stronger. But I'm lucky because I have a connection to God that nobody else has. But they all knew that, and that's why they started trusting me and having faith in me, and going to church and praying. When I first started going to church, there would be maybe 3 or 4 people in there, and then by the time I was done, most of the chairs were full, because I was able to explain their traumas and ways to them in a way that made sense, and it was bringing them healing. So yeah. There was one girl in there. She's called me Cosmic, and she used to bring me flowers. I've still got the pine cone. She bought me a pine cone for my pain, because obviously, I can't take anything for pain. I'm allergic to everything. So she bought me a pine cone, and she'd bring me like feathers and that, and I'd put them under my pillow and at the foot of my bed and that to help me with the pain. And she gave me a whole pile of like beauty products and that, so I could have a wash and have a shave and feel human again. So yeah, she's an incredible gardener. She's somebody who, to earn her community wage, she could teach people how to garden and, take care of their herbs, and I'd sign up to her class. She's got some skills with gardening and that could benefit a lot of people, including like at my foundation. I would absolutely employ someone like her to work at the foundation and like create my gardens and look after my gardens and grow my veggies and stuff like that, because she knew it all. So, she would absolutely be a benefit to the NHS and the mental health services, because she didn't deserve to be in there. She made excuses for what she was, and, she didn't deserve to be in there. She's got so many skills that could be really beneficial, to the medical industry, to the horticultural industry, to the food services and all of that. Yeah, she's got some skills, man. So she's somebody who would absolutely, and she would, if she didn't have to worry about anything to get her money and all of that, and it meant she could go off and be her gorgeous little butterfly self, doing what she loved in that. Um, the things that she could bring to the world would be phenomenal, and the taxpayer, and that sort of thing. So yeah, so there would absolutely need to be a rehaul, but these mental health nurses that deserve to be there, they absolutely need to be paid a hell of a lot more money than what they're getting now, especially people like Michelle, who are turning up when they're not supposed to be there because she's worried that her staff are going to be having to work double shifts in there if they can't bring in, temporary replacement, shift workers, temporary shift workers, because we had 2 COVID outbreaks there. So we got when we got called into a meeting to explain about the second lockdowns and blah blah blah. That's when I said to the girls, let's just like do our bit, because they're understaffed and Michelle's run off her feet. She was supposed to be on holidays or something. She was supposed to be having a couple of days off, and she worked through the whole thing. She couldn't stay away. She's somebody who loves her job because she's somebody who actually cares about what she's doing. Therefore, she should be getting paid really well for it, and she's somebody who shouldn't be having to worry about like putting washing on. If there's somebody in her community that can pick up her washing and do her washing for her and have it dropped off, or pick up her shopping, or pick up the kids, or take your mum to the doctor or whatever, so that she's not, so it's taking burdens off someone like her, then it deserves to be done. She deserves it. People like her are the taxpayers that you want to be able to get the people on, the cute community wages, doing their bit to help her out. And because there'd be fewer people in there, there'd be less of a need for, temporary staff and stuff. And there'd be fewer people on medications because they wouldn't bloody need it. Because there'd be other alternatives. So, yeah. And for the ones that deserve to be there, then there's more people there with more time on their hands to take care of the things that matter, which would be, helping them heal. But because they'd be retrained to understand what it is they're actually dealing with, they would actually be able to help them heal. And they could do things like dye their hair and, like open up, like have like a little beauty shop. There are people like me in there that have got skills that could absolutely have been cutting their hair because they were used to be hairdressers, or, like beauty therapy and that. But obviously if somebody's in there because they've done something harmful with weapons and that, then no. But if it's someone like me, although he did try to say I had a knife, so they might not have let me, but which would have been unfair. Had I been believed and it was someone like me, I'm a beauty therapist. I could have given them facials and with nothing that had chemicals in it, so they wouldn't have to worry about swallowing chemicals. And they've got that dye shampoo now, so they could dye their hair without even needing to use the chemicals, because these dye shampoos are like made of mostly plants and all that. So there's a lot of things that can be done to fix Britain that alleviates the burden on the taxpayer, that gives back to the community, where people on benefits aren't losing their benefits and would even be making more money, and they wouldn't even be called benefits anymore. It would be called a community wage, because technically they are being paid by the government to do services for the government. Therefore, it would be a government wage. So it wouldn't be job seekers allowance, because you'd have a job. It would be doing shopping for people, walking their dogs, whatever you signed up. I can walk dogs, I can feed 2 extra people, I can do this, I can, sign up. And then the more you can do, the more you can sign up for, the more money you'd make. And then it might inspire people to start creating their own businesses. You'll probably find that people will find, actually, you know what? If I was able to get a grant from the government of $2,000 where I could get my own van and I could actually do this for a job. I could, do a contract deal with the government where they buy my van and they pay me to do this, this and this, but I will also do this, this and this, and I'll make a business out of it. And then it's a win-win situation. Or like I said, there might be someone out there who really just dreams of having their own cafe, but they might not be able to bake, but they make really nice sandwiches and all that sort of thing. They just can't bake. Or they can bake, but they can't afford to start their own business. So, the community tree, the neighbourhood tree, would be inspiring a lot of minds, starting a lot of businesses, getting people working together in their community. It would ease racial tension. It would bring faiths together. It would save money on the taxpayer. It would be generating money. The king makes more money. And everybody's getting a little bit happier because everybody's just then finally calming down and breathing. And then people will be able to start having holidays again where they can just relax and not have to worry about their pets being fed because somebody in their neighbourhood saw on their community notes or is offering, I will feed your dogs if you go on holiday. I will feed your birds or your cats. I will take your mum to the doctor so when you go on holiday you can just chill. And they'd be able to monitor it and follow it the whole way through, the whole process. Because you'll be able to, through the app, if they've got their phone with them, you'll be able to access the camera anytime you want. So you'll be able to look in. So we need techie boffins to be able to, write the software and all of that, but I can do that. Gemstone Games. If you funded me, I'd be able to sort it all out. Or if I became Prime Minister. Anyway, so yeah, the problem solver. That's why God put me here. To fix everything.